Hello, chickens. Welcome to Local Music Shapes Culture. I am Alison Christoff, the host of this podcast, and today I'm going to be telling you my music story. I interview people a lot on this podcast, and I am going to go through my journey into music and being in bands and why it's important to me because it's literally the most important thing to me in my life. And I really am grateful for the community that I've found myself in Indianapolis, the DIY scene, and the bands that I am in currently, and the people I've met through them. And I really want to spread the love and support and encouragement for people that are also interested in doing that sort of thing because it's really rewarding and you learn a lot. And just being able to artistically express yourself through your music, through recording your music, through performing your music. Like, performing is my favorite aspect for sure. I love performing. I love the connection with people. Like, that's my favorite part of it. It's not I love having high quality recordings of my music, don't get me wrong, but the actual physical performance in front of people and interacting with a crowd and learning how to get better at that because I'm still learning for sure. Like I'm definitely still learning, but I love performing for people. And I'm so grateful for everybody that ever comes up to me and is like, that was awesome. You did awesome. I enjoyed that so much. Or it moved me because it means a lot to me and I'm glad that people enjoy it. But okay, so my musical journey, where did it start? I don't know. I'm a 90s baby. I'm like 28 now. I'll be 29 in a couple in oh my god, in like 1 month. Okay, I'll be 29 in 1 month. And I mean, I grew up listening to popular music mostly. I wasn't that into music as a child. Honestly, I never played instruments before I was 20 at all. Like, really, at all. I maybe took one semester of a piano class in middle school, and that's it. And I was never super that interested. I had some hit clips. For you 90s babies, you might know what that is. Like Britney Spears, 30-second hit clips of Britney Spears. But I didn't really start having artists that I listened to regularly until high school. I remember I don't know, in high school I wanted to be different. I wanted to be different. I felt different. I was like, oh, no one understands me. And also I loved looking at clothes online, even though I couldn't really buy any of them because I had no money. But I browsed the Urban Outfitters website all the time and I listened to their playlist and I convinced myself that I liked this music that was on their playlist. Whether or not I did, I didn't really. None of that really sticks with me now. But I got on Tumblr and I got really into Lana Del Rey, and that was my sad girl era for a while. Lana Del Rey, I was very obsessed with her. And she's a pretty chaotic person in her music. I don't know, she just romanticizes pretty unhealthy things. And I think I wanted to be self destructive at the same time because I didn't really do anything. Yeah, I was unsatisfied with my life and I romanticized sadness. I loved just romanticizing sadness on Tumblr. I would well, I don't even remember what it was called, but retumble. I don't remember what it's called, but I would just a lot of posts in that aesthetic of the sad girl Lana Del Rey thing. And I was obsessed with all of her music. I literally found every unreleased song I could of Lana Del Rey, and I knew them very well. I had my whole catalog of her and her album, Born to Die at the time, and all of her unreleased music. I knew like as much as I could about her from like her time as like Lizzie Grant before she rebranded to Lana Del Rey. And um that was most of it. I mean, I also listened to just like hipster stuff like Arctic Monkeys and stuff, but Lana Del Rey, definitely bigger influence in that respect. And yeah, that was kind of just my biggest thing for a long time. I also really like Marina and the Diamonds. But as I got to college, yeah, I don't think I really had a shift from that until college. And then in college, a couple years in, I moved into the co-op houses there. I took a summer where I lived in the co-op house, one of the co-op houses in my college town for the first time. And it was, I mean, honestly, it was the community I wanted. It was kind of chaotic. People were, I don't know, people were having fun. I don't regret that at all. But that was when I started getting into like disco and funk and R&B, like really heavy. That was like I got really obsessed with that. Like I was hyper fixated on especially disco music. But like disco, funk, R&B, certain hip hop, like 90s hip hop, that yeah, I was like obsessed. I was obsessed. I would like I don't know. I was yeah, I would play it in the house all the time. And I got a lot of encouragement from people in the house. I was really obsessed with disco, funk, R&B, hip hop, like 90s hip hop. Um, like I don't know, like funkadelic, like D'Angelo, Tribe Called Quest, that kind of thing. And just like honestly, with disco, a lot of one hit wonders. Disco had so many one hit wonders. And I have a big playlist of like my favorite songs from that time. I would probably make playlists different today, but I still dig that music. I just have to be in a certain vibe. It's definitely not my all time vibe, but it was back then. It was like in college, that was my obsession. Is well, especially in like 2016, 2017, that was my primary music obsession. And it kind of transitioned a little bit with like more of this like 70s female vocalist rock music, like Linda Ronstadt and Bonnie Raitt. And God, I mean, yeah, Linda Ronstadt, Bonnie Raitt, Ricky Lee Jones. They have a similar vibe if you've ever listened to them. I'm I don't know, it's really interesting how Linda Ronstadt was so big in the 70s and not a lot of people know about her today. But she also like didn't create her own music. She was just an amazing vocalist. And I think that's an art form in itself. It's valid. Like she made songs her own very well. She was an incredible vocalist, and I just felt her vocals in my heart. And I'm not sure if it was her that got me like really wanting into learning singing or like at some point that was my obsession for a while. I don't know if I mentioned, but it's really late at night also. And I'm supposed to publish my podcast at like 8 p.m. on Sundays. I would really like to get a lot more consistent about that. But I don't know, sometimes life gets in the way. I really want to make it more consistent, but I'll figure it out. Video editing is really hard. Don't nitpick my video editing. I'm so grateful from Anthony from Slur for editing that podcast of me and Daisy and Hannah because that was so chaotic. I don't even want to ask how much time that took. Hopefully not too long for if he was more familiar with video editing. But I can use CapCut, and every time I try to use a different video editing software, I'm like, this is too much. I can use Photoshop, but I didn't like really grow up doing like a lot of video editing, so it's a lot of the tools are very similar between the video editing softwares. Like I was trying to use DaVinci Resolve and like Adobe Premiere, but I don't know, it's really confusing. Yeah, side note, yeah, this is like a personal episode. I was considering making like personal series for paid subscribers on Substack, just about like more of like my own stories. It's like $5 a month. I don't know. I was considering doing that. They always say yourself is the easiest thing to talk about. Anyway, where were we? Linda Ronstadt, favorite singer. I will probably say that confidently is not like a very confident stance. I love Linda Ronstadt. Her voice is beautiful, and she has been my favorite vocalist for a long time. But the me is the first time I listened to Laura Nero's album, Eli and the 13th Confession, was when I think my brain clicked and I changed. That album is so beautiful, and still, I don't feel like I've heard any other album that feels in the same genre. And at the same time I have, like it's not like you've never heard anything that would vibe with it. It's just like it combines so many feelings of it's just very timely of the late 60s or early 70s. I can't remember exactly what year it came out. It's definitely very soulful, but it's also it sounds like easy listening and at the same time not at all, which is crazy. Like her vocals will be just like consistent, like da da da, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, that was a fucking scream. Laura Nero really changed me and my like influence of music. When I first heard Eli and the 13th Confession, I had never heard music like it before. And I think that ultimately is what made me want to be a musician. It's what made me want to like learn music. I had never heard anything like it, and it touched my soul on a level that pretty much nothing has ever touched before. I don't know. I I've definitely heard a lot of albums since then that I have felt like really touched by since, and a lot of those TBH have been like funk and well, like R&B. I really dig R&B. Um, some hip hop. I don't know. I really, really felt music during that time that I was into like funk and R&B and disco and hip hop. I can't say that like when I listen to those again, I feel that certain touched feeling that I felt back then. And so like when I listen to an album for the first time, I like just take some time to see if I still feel the same way about the music after a period of time, because ultimately I mean what makes something your favorite album is when you can go back to it and still feel like it very deeply. Laura Nero's Eli and the 13th Confession is not something I want to listen to all the time, but when I do feel in the mood to listen to it, I still feel like my soul is touched. And she is so unique in that I mean, she sold songs at a really early age. Like when she was a teenager, she sold a song to Peter, Paul, and Mary, and she sold songs to other artists, like big artists too, at the time. And then she got scared by fame and kind of started keeping to herself a bit more. And I think that's a lot of the reason why she is not as famous as she could have been. But a lot of really prominent people have labeled her as a major influence in their careers, like Elton John and Joni Mitchell. Like Barbara Streisand uh, sang one of her songs, Stony End. And um, I don't know, she's just an amazing songwriter. I will never, I think I will always feel that way about Laura Nyro. And she just kind of descended back to like this rural life after she was tired of ga- gaining attention. She didn't like the attention, which is not for everybody. I can't remember what came first, whether it was me wanting to learn guitar or whether I wanted to get better at doing vocals. But I asked my roommate Andrew in the co-op. I lived in a different co-op than the first one I lived in, and he kind of started telling me about basics, but it was mostly like technical musical theory stuff, which I don't necessarily feel like is the best way to approach it. Although I love you, Andrew. I did end up taking guitar lessons a couple times. Guitar is like something that I can get into it at times, but I've never been obsessed with guitar. I've never really been obsessed with guitar, but I still can kind of play it, and I worked at it for a while. But I think part of why I'm not like amazing at it is because I never got like super into it. Like I never felt it in my soul. And when I like also in college, I wanted to get better at my voice, and I listened to some podcast I found where they were talking about like the podcast was about vocals and like getting better at your voice, and they had a guest on it named Wendy Parr, I think her name was, and she was like maybe a celebrity vocal coach, and I reached out to her for recommendations on like people I could take vocal lessons from. And she recommended to me my first vocal teacher, who was Mindy Pack. Their names sound kind of similar, funny enough. But Mindy was awesome. The first time I had, this is all virtual. The first time I had vocal lessons from Mindy was like, I remember in my bedroom at the co-op, and she asked me to sing something, and I sang a Fleetwood Mac song where Stevie Nicks sang. And it was just to like make like let her understand where my voice was at the time. And Mindy was a great teacher. I eventually moved from her because she started working with like pretty big artists, and she upped her prices, and she upped her prices, and I couldn't afford her anymore. She was honestly always a stretch. I wasn't like making a lot of money after college. Like was after I graduated from college. I think um I was an intern in an office for a while, and then after a few months I was offered a full-time position there, and which was great, but like I was not making very much money when I was taking lessons from Mindy. I was literally making like I might not have even graduated at that point. I was probably making like $10 an hour working in the ecology lab because I thought I wouldn't want when I was in college, I wanted to be an ecologist or evolutionary biologist. I really liked evolutionary biology, and I worked in the lab, and I was making shit. and Mindy's lessons were like $75 for half an hour. But I wanted to learn how to get my voice better so bad that like that was like my top financial priority. So I took lessons from Mindy. I might have even done it every week. I can't remember if I did it like weekly or bi-weekly, but that was the financial stretch. But it was so important to me that I took lessons from Mindy for $75 for half an hour per lesson. And she was a great teacher. Don't get me wrong. I really, really, my priority was to like not take vocal. Oh, I definitely took from Mindy before I graduated because I definitely did. But Mindy was a great teacher. I really wanted to not find like a classically trained vocal coach because I feel like those methods are very different and they classically trained. I'm not going to say that I know this for all of them, but you know, they're going for a certain sound. They were trained classically. They are like, you know, in music schools, there's just that classical emphasis a lot of the time. And I really didn't want a vocal teacher like that. And I think vocals are not a standardized, vocal teaching is not necessarily a standardized practice. So I really wanted to find just like a contemporary, like not necessarily genre specific teacher. And I took lessons from Mindy for like maybe 2 or 3 years. I moved to Indy. I maybe took lessons from Mindy for like a year after that. Vocal lessons. I was taking guitar lessons intermittently throughout this time. I even took piano lessons for like maybe like 6 months. Did not stick with that. But piano would be sick. I took piano lessons primarily because that's Laura Nero's instrument. And she's great at the piano. Like you can hear her emotion on the piano. Like girl knows how to work the piano. But I yeah, after Minnie raised her prices, I asked her for recommendations, and she recommended to me my second vocal teacher, who was Melanie Galliardo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Melanie. And Melanie is amazing. I think I connected with Melanie even more than Mindy. So I was kind of, I mean, I loved Mindy. I loved Mindy. I think I was like less self-confident at the time, and like Mindy talked in a way that just like assumed you were like more confident in yourself and didn't need as much reassurance. But like Melanie definitely gave more reassurance, which I really appreciated. So now comes time. I was like really wanting to play music, and I would practice guitar. I would practice my weighted keyboard piano and like regularly, but I really think I mostly had in my soul like wanting to do vocals this whole time. And I would try to, after I moved to Indianapolis, I would try to go out to shows and stuff, meet people. I didn't really know anybody in Indianapolis when I first moved here. There's a lot of trial and error. It's kind of hard to move to a new city and like find out where your place is if you don't already know people in that city. And I went to, I don't know, I never felt like it was really my thing, super hard. I met someone on Instagram who was in a band, this girl, and I went to a couple of her shows and I was friends with her. And that's the first time I was introduced to the DIY scene. DIY scene. And it was kind of crazy. I don't know. Yeah, that was really the start of everything. I met people through her, and I went to my first DIY shows, and then I started dating someone that I met through her. And I remember like one of my first memories of DIY shows was like just like this house show. I think my first few memories of DIY shows were house shows, and it was just something so new to me. It was kind of like wild. It was very just unpolished in a basement. People were like screaming. I mean, the vocalists were screaming. And it was so different from what I had ever experienced in like expecting live performances. And I don't know that I really know what I thought of it at first. But I stuck with it. I was dating someone that was in a weird band and a weird punk band. And I, um, met more people through that. And then one of my friends that used to live in the co op with me in college moved to Indianapolis. And I was hanging out with them more and met some of their friends and just got really involved in like people associated with that community in that way. And I, yeah, I was going out to shows. I started going out to a lot of shows. I really, but the more I went out to these shows, the more I wanted to be in a band. And then I started dating someone, and he was in, like, he's been in a lot of bands. And then it just made me, I think it just made me really want to, like, have an itch to be in a band. And I got really sad about it because I had low, like, I had low self confidence. And I was like, there's just something wrong with me. I can't be in a band. Like, I'm just not good at this stuff. I'm a horrible singer. I can't play instruments. I just, like, that's why I'm not in a band. And now I know that that was like a horrible mindset to go about it. But I was just like sorry for myself. And that is like, I don't know. I don't blame myself for being that way. Like, there's definitely a reason that it was that way. But I, it took a lot to get out of that mindset. And I was just really sad about that for a while. Sad for myself. Like, I think I just wanted some opportunity to come to me at some point. Like, my like boyfriend at the time like started a band with me, which was a really fun band. My first, well, it wasn't my, well, let me think about this. When did, okay, no, it was not my first time being in a band, but the first, I'd tried to start a few bands before that. And I think the first one, well, that's not even real, but the second one didn't play a show. We had a show booked and then it kind of disbanded. And then the third one played one show and then disbanded. But then, yeah, then my boyfriend created a band where I was the vocalist, a punk band. The band was really fun. I really love doing vocals in a fast punk band because the energy is all there. And I that lasted for a while, then we broke up. I don't know, after a period of time of that, like, like, less than a year, I think I was just convinced to do more. And then I started, well, actually, shit. No, actually, shortly after we broke up, like, I remember in Callejera, like literally like a week after we broke up, Mia Instagram messaged me and was like, "Do you want to play bass in Callejera?" And Callejera was literally my favorite local band at the time, and I was like, "Really?" I was like, "I'm not even good at bass." And Callejera was like really fast for me at the time. Like I'd never really played like bass that fast. And so I was really excited and grateful and very motivated. I practiced bass a ton, like every day during that period of time where I was trying to get acclimated for Callejera. Like, I mean, probably no joke, like at least an hour a day. At least. Probably several, like a lot of the time it would be 2, maybe even 3 hours that I would be practicing bass a day. And somehow I got acclimated to playing in that tempo in like a month and a half. And like the first show I played with them was like not even, or it like I didn't even think I was going to play that show. But then that was our first practice as a whole band. Hmm. I just moved the table. It was our first practice as a whole band, and the show was later that day. And our drummer that started the band was like, You know what? We sound pretty good. Do you just wanna play the show tonight? And that was kind of funny because my ex-boyfriend organized that show and he had no idea. Anyway, um, yeah, that was fun. I love Callejera. I love literally everyone that's in Callejera. Also Armando, who's not in Callejera anymore, but started Callejera and was in it when I joined the band. But yeah, I love everyone in Callejera. I'm very very grateful for them asking me to be their bassist. And then yeah, like less than a year after that, I started my band Pigmail Brains, and that's been a great experience too. I feel like I always start bands with like all girls. Girls like just make me feel more comfortable. I think I'm scared of like boys trying to tell me that they know more, and that's why I always want to start bands with girls. I know that no, not all boys are like that, but like, come on. Have you ever been a girl, boys, that want to criticize me? No, you haven't. Girls have experienced a lot of boys that want to criticize what they're doing and act like they know more, even if they have less experience. Or even if they have more experience, like your opinion isn't necessarily wanted. But yeah, Pigmail Brains has been sick. I love all the girls in that band. Shout out Autumn, Mia. Mia's the vocalist in Callejera, and April. Yeah, I love all those girls. And I'm very grateful for them. And we've been playing shows for a while, and I'm so happy that that's the first band that I've started that's like gotten going because it's awesome. It's really just a lesson that like you just gotta, if you want to do something, you gotta try and try again. Because like I tried to start like 3 bands before Pigmail Brains on my own. I mean, and then I got invited to one, but like, well, I got invited to 2. But yeah, the bands that I tried to start on my own, I tried to start 3 before this, and they didn't like work out. And like now I'm in an awesome band. And if it's something you want to do, you should do it. Even if you start doing it badly, even if your first show you feel like you played like shit and you wish you could have done so many things better. It doesn't matter. What matters is like getting yourself out there, experiencing it, and like even embracing your mistakes because you just learn so much more by embracing your mistakes, like just doing it and then learning what you did wrong as opposed to like imagining what it would have been like to like perform or to start a band like trying to envision what exactly you need to do, how you need like what you need to know. If you just do it and start it, you learn so much faster what those things actually are. Just try and find out. Like it's so fun to express your artistic voice and just have a voice in general. It's made me a lot more confident and just like helped me believe in what I want to say to the world because I was really not so confident about that before. It's been a journey. It's been like honestly a self confidence journey because I was not that way when I was younger. And I encourage everyone that's interested to pursue that. Thank you. It's been Local Music Shapes Culture. I'm Alison Christoff. This is my personal episode. Um, Let me know if you want to know anything. This podcast is hosted by Substack, which is where I upload it, and they push it to YouTube and host its RSS feed. So it's available on Spotify, Apple Music, and I think you can listen to it on most streaming platforms if you use the RSS feed. If you want to support the work that I do in this podcast, you can subscribe to my Substack or become a paid subscriber on my Substack for $5 a month. And I really appreciate everyone that watches this or listens to it or comes up to me in Indianapolis and tells me that they listen to it, even if I don't know you. I'm like, wow, thank you. And let me know if there's anything specific you want to hear about, want to see, because I want to know what's most valuable for you and what you want to hear about. And I also I think that local music scenes are very impactful in not only individuals' lives, but like also culturally. And I want them to grow. I like want not only Indianapolis, like all cities that have like a music scene, like for their music scenes to grow and for young people to like feel welcome to join and to express their artistic voice. I love you guys. Bye.